Hi, today we're going to be looking at partial fractions, type 1. In the previous video, we looked at long division. And the reason for that is to ensure that the degree of the numerator is lower than the denominator. Firstly, let's look at the following problem. 3 over x plus 2 over y. How would we do that? We would find a common denominator. The common denominator here is xy. And for us to work out our numerator, we're going to take 3 and we're going to multiply by y, and we're going to take 2 and we're going to multiply by x, which will give us 3y plus 2x all over xy. Now, what if we want to reverse the process? What if we take the answer 3y plus 2x all over xy and we want to break that up and get back to the question? You will notice in the first instance we found a common denominator. Going backwards, we can split the common denominator to x and y. If we do the reverse process, we're splitting the denominator x and y, and going backwards from here you will get the common denominator xy. Now we're not sure what numbers are going to go on the top, so we're going to call it some variable. In this case, let's use a and b. This process where we take the fraction and decompose it is what we're going to call partial fractions. And our job in this video is to be able to take a problem like this and decompose it and try and find out a and b. Let's look at our first example. Decompose into partial fractions. 5x minus 1 all over x minus 2 into x plus 1. So the first thing we're going to do is split the denominator, x minus 2 and x plus 1. And we're not sure what is going to go into the numerator, so we're going to call it some random value or variable a and b. Our mission is to find a and b. Now, if we look at the right hand side, for us to find a common denominator, which is x minus 2 into x plus 1. Remember, this was the question, so let's ignore this part. We want to find a common denominator, x minus 2x plus 1. So we're going to take a and multiply it by x plus 1. We're going to take b and multiply it by x minus 2. You'll notice that the denominators are the same. So we're going to equate the numerators. We're going to drop the denominators. And that gives us 5x minus 1 is equal to a into x plus 1 plus b into x minus 2. We're equating the numerators. Now for us to find a and b, this is an equation. We can substitute any x value. But we want to strategize. We have two unknowns. So we need to get rid of one unknown. So we have a and b. The way to get rid of the unknown is to substitute the x value that will give us a 0 in one of these brackets. I can either use minus 1 because minus 1 plus 1 will give me a 0, or I could use 2. 2 minus 2 is equal to 0. Actually, we're going to use both. But we're going to start with the first one. Let us use x is equal to 2. Now I want you to think about this. If x was equal to 2, 2 minus 2 is 0. So this entire part works out to be 0. So we only have to work with this part. So let's quickly put that down. Substitute x equal to 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 minus 1 will give us 9. 2 plus 1 is 3 times a is 3a. And if we put our 2 in here, this part will become 0. And 0 times b is 0. So let's see what we're left with. 5 times 2 is 10 minus 1, giving us 9. And on this side, 2 plus 1 is 3a. And then we can solve for a by dividing both sides by 3, which gives us a to be 3. Now, we found a. We want to now find b. In the same way, we're going to use minus 1. because minus 1 plus 1 will give us 0, which will cancel off the a. 0 times a is 0. So let's quickly do that. If we sub x to be minus 1 into this part, 5 times minus 1 is equal to, we're going to put a minus 1 plus 1, which will give us our 0, and 0 times a is 0. And here we're going to put in a minus 1, which gives us minus 1 minus 2, and that will give us a minus 3b. Let's quickly take note of that. We said 5 times minus 1 is minus 5, minus 5 minus 1 is minus 6. And on this side, minus 1 plus 2, this cancels off to 0. Minus 1 minus 2 is minus 3b. Divide both sides by negative 3, we end up with b to be 2. So we found a, which is 3, and we found b to be 2. If we return into this part, we can now replace a and b. A is 3 and b is 2. So we've taken that and we've decomposed that into partial fractions.